Good afternoon. This is Claudette, Milner, host of A Matter of Interpretation, Americans in Crisis. Today we're going to talk to Bennie Jerome Smith, the man and his music, and part two will be the man and the candidate. Bennie is running against none other than Mitch McConnell for the Senate. And so we're going to discuss his platform, him as a candidate, and we're also going to get some background because I like you to get to know the candidate one-on-one and personal. Before we begin, let's go to God in prayer. Most gracious and Heavenly Father, we honor you. We honor you because you are who you are. We honor you, dear God in heaven, not for what you give us, but for your divine grace on our lives. We thank you and give you praise and glory and honor. We ask for wisdom throughout the interview. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Bennie, can you go ahead for me, and it's Bennie Jerome Smith. Can you go ahead and just introduce yourself to my listening audience and a little bit of background, because I know you're from Kentucky.
Yes, ma'am.
And so tell us where you're from and what you seek to do.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, giving full honor and glory to the Creator. Well, thank you, first of all, for inviting me to be a part of your special program. I know we've been talking about getting this done and finally got it here today. First of all, my name is Bennie Jerome Smith. A lot of my family growing up called me Jerome. That's what a lot of people call me Bennie J. So a lot of people know what J stands for now, Jerome. And some people call me Bennie. And basically I was named after my father, Bennie B. Smith. His family originated out of Logantown, Kentucky, which is 5 miles from Stamford, Kentucky. And my mother side of the family is in Danville, Kentucky, which is where I was born. On Derby Day, 1958, when Tim won the Derby that day. Although I came first, so I actually won. But like I said, my first 4 years in school, actually I was in the first through the fourth grade, attended Booker T Elementary in Lexington before integration. And I got a chance to experience a two-family household. My dad was a laborer, and my mom, she was legally blind. So we had a unique opportunity to be raised in a household with, like I said, two-parent household. And, they were very, just like, anyone else, we had a nice, disciplined family. I had 3 other siblings. I'm the oldest of 4. My brother, my sister's Juanita Smith, although she'd like to think she's the oldest sometimes, and Tim Smith and Clarence Smith. I'm the only one that was born in Danville. Everyone else was born in Lexington, as far as my siblings are concerned. Anyway, when I got 10 years old, my mom and dad separated, and we moved back to Danville. And as any other child, when you have an interruption in the family, you try to find ways to address your aggression. So I was acting out in class, cutting up, being the class clown, I guess basically just seeking for the attention. And then I saw this oblong-looking instrument called a saxophone, alto saxophone, and I started learning to play that, and it practically saved my life. And I always tell folks that music did save my life, because I could have went either way, the direction I was going, And basically, after 2.5 years there in Danville, I moved back to Lexington, about the second half of 8th grade, and reunited with a lot of my friends and things of that nature.
Tell us about high school and the whole experience of just being a young man, because so many people, and you said that music kept you on track, so we lose so many of our young black men during that period. So who was your biggest influence? You said that your parents separated. Was your dad still in your life? What influence did that play?
Okay, thank you for that question. Actually, although my mom and dad were separated and eventually divorced, we still maintained a relationship with our father. However, with all the drugs and at that particular time when I was growing up, glue sniffing was pretty much the thing that everybody was getting into. But Mom kept us on a curfew, so I had to be in the house by 7 or 8 o'clock. I used to get mad, but looking back, I'm so thankful that she gave us that curfew, because I could have been one of those that succumbed to those vices that allow you to get off track. But then additionally, we also had Big Brothers. There was a Big Brothers, Big Sisters program. I had probably a total of 3 Big Brothers that actually came, got me out of my environment, and took me on some different field trips type thing, just one-on-one mentoring. Then we also got a chance to go to camps. I got a chance to go to Boy Scout camp, and the YMCA camp, and Trooper Island. Trooper Island is one that's sponsored by the Kentucky State Troopers. And so all those interactions, and then later on at junior high school, I was blessed to be part of a talent search program where they kind of seek out potential students who were had an acumen of possibly, I was an average student, but they saw some potential. And then I had a blessed opportunity to be a part of the Upward Bound program. And from the area that we were in Charlotte Court on the west side of Lexington, we were eligible to go to Kentucky State University. So I started attending those tutorial programs during the course of the year, and then during the summers we got a chance to stay on campus. And I like to say, what's crazy about that, up until the 10th grade I did not know that we had an HBCU here in our state. I did not know there was a Kentucky State University until my counselor brought this yellow and gold catalog. And I looked at it and I was just fascinated. And so from all 3 years of my high school year, I was in the Upward Bound program, and eventually I got a chance to attend K-State on a music scholarship. And the irony of that, though, is that I started, after the 8th grade, I started playing sports. In 9th grade, I started playing football. And so I didn't play in the organized band, so I started playing with neighborhood friends and started playing in bands. So 14, I played my first professional gig where I made $5. So, and from there, all throughout high school, I played in different bands. So when it came time to go to college in my senior year, I had to make a choice. And I auditioned for the Kentucky State Marching Band, and I got selected, and that's how I got a music scholarship. And so, so basically, that's what kind of really prevented me from really falling on the backside and making better choices than some of my other friends, unfortunately, did.
And see, I have friends who are alumni at K-State, and they informed me that you visit back to K-State your homecoming time.
Yes, ma'am.
And various events, and stay entered. And they were like, no, but I don't know him personally, but I know him because he shook my hand, and
yes, ma'am.
And you made quite an impression on the
Thank you.
K-State alumni.
Well, you know, attending Kentucky State University, and I would encourage every parent to at least consider having your child attend the HBCU, because when you're on a historically black college university, you experience a whole total environment where you're seeing people like yourself. You're getting introduced to a lot of the culture, black culture, African American culture, African culture, and it's like a family. You know, people coming from all over the country, mainly Detroit, Atlanta, Chicago, Florida, just everywhere, and those blended cultures there, you get a chance to get a wide variety of experiences. And I think that, cause a lot of times I'd go home with some of my friends on the weekends, you know, just to go say, hey, I've been there, and had a great time. And it just opens you up to a whole wide world of opportunities, you know, that you wouldn't have probably had you not been there. So that's basically my experience, and I was blessed. Matter of fact, this is Kentucky State's homecoming right now, so apparently I chose to be here with you so I could do this. So thank you so much. Because I know everybody, where's Bennie J? Here I am, I'm here with Miss Milner.
Well, see, I know, because I was warned that, you know, today we had a women's meeting, right? And so, and I'm absent from that, and they were like, well, people are gonna leave and drive up to K-State, so
Yes, ma'am.
I feel you. I am not a K-State grad. I went to Purdue, but that's okay.
I like Purdue. Boilermaker, hey!
But the, and another thing we share is that we both lived in Charlotte, because I
Oh my
lived in
God,
Charlotte
yes,
for
ma'am.
15 years, and you got your music started in Charlotte.
Well, actually, it got enhanced, because I was
Mhm.
also, I played with pretty much many, if not most of the musicians here in the Kentucky area, particularly Lexington and Louisville. But I had one of my homegirls from Lexington, Angela Walker. She was a '76 graduate from Henry Clay High School. She got hired by GMAC, where she originally lived in Jacksonville and then got transferred to Charlotte. And she found out I was driving a truck, and she said, well, you know, I know truck is not your passion. She said, you know, so why don't you come to Charlotte? And me, I'm like, well, what's in Charlotte? I had no clue. I hadn't even heard of Charlotte. She said, well, it's only the second banking capital of the world, and they have many clubs opening up almost monthly, and they think you would, an opportunity for black entrepreneurs or people that want to enhance their careers. And so I prayed on it, and it was a hard decision because I was in a relationship, and man, I tried to get my significant other to consider relocating, and I didn't think about it at the time or understand it at the time, but she had young grandkids that were still young. She wanted to be here with them, and so I still had to like make a decision. Now, do I stay here and be depressed again? Because I have been depressed because I haven't attained the same level of in my career than I had previously, or do I step out on faith? And so after 3 months going back and forth, I finally decided to step out on faith and actually relocated to Charlotte in January of 2006. And let me tell you, I hit the ground running. I went, met every musician. I went to every club there, promoters, club managers, and within 4 months, I was able to secure a record deal with an independent label there, and actually recorded a single there. And then that opportunity came that I got a chance to go to the Bahamas. My friend invited me there, but she said, based on one condition, and that I get my passport. And this was like February at this time, so I had, and she was leaving in April. She said, I'm gonna leave without you if you're gonna get your passport or what. So needless to say, I got my passport and had an opportunity to experience that.
I think one thing that encourages me about this man is that I met you at a fundraiser.
Mm.
And you were playing, and it was a fundraiser when they shut the government down.
Yes, ma'am.
And I called, and I'm like, I want to come to the fundraiser, and and kind of got the details and everything. And then when I got there, he was so hospitable.
Yeah,
And his door people, and they were like, yeah, we know who you are. and it was, and it was something that he didn't have to do. But he chose to do it. And we want candidates, we want politicians that have a finger on the pulse of real people.
Yes, ma'am.
Because that was when the government shut down and nobody really cared.
Mm.
It was all about politics. It wasn't about, can you pay your LG&E? Are you going to get, your car towed away or repossessed? It was about something that he chose to do, and fortunately, we crossed paths.
Yes, ma'am.
Periodically because of certain functions, but that was one thing that impressed me, and that was when I didn't even know you were running.
Yeah.
It was just.
And to be honest with you, first of all, thank you very much for that. And at the time, I wasn't sure. I was kind of on the fence, but I think that shutdown was kind of pushing me towards it, and I'm gonna give that to God, because that was a calling. It was like okay, government shutting down, and Mitch McConnell, unfortunately, didn't seem, he could have stopped it any time, but he chose not to. And then I had some friends, with me being a CDL Class A driver of tractor and trailer, I drive 18-wheelers, I knew a lot of the federal contractors who carry our mail. We got the truck driver that carried the mail, they weren't getting paid, they were gonna get their back pay. And so I knew if I was in that situation, you ain't getting no financial contribution coming through. So I just felt I needed to do something, and that's the way I've always been, you know. And so I reached out to the gentleman at the Technical Center for African American Heritage, and he agreed to allow me to do something there. And we just set it up, and I just promoted it. It was a very short time, but we still got a lot of things done. You know, within it. We think about it, it's about like 2.5 weeks time.
Mm-hmm.
So, so I want to thank to this time to belatedly thank everybody that participated in that, the caterers, the bartenders, the facilitators who allowed us to have the event there, and the musicians and the singers, and those like yourself that came out to support the cause. So it was pretty good.
No, we wanted to, and you know, and I called a couple of people I knew, and we enjoyed ourselves, but we enjoyed more the function and the purpose of the event, because it's up to us, and governments, a lot of times, it's up to community
Awesome.
to pull
So true.
together, and we have to have a semblance of community
Yes, ma'am.
in order to get things done, because it's not gonna come from the White House.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to come from grassroots, and it's gotta come, so when people step up, and there were a lot of musicians that stepped up that night,
Yes, ma'am.
and that was so appreciated. What do you say when you're out and you're campaigning and you're just being you? What do you say to young people about voting? Because I've had a couple of shows, and there is a disconnect
Yes, unfortunately.
between youth that are in voting, and there's even a disconnect among people our age
Yes, ma'am.
about the importance of voting, because they feel disconnected from the community. And in that they feel disconnected from the community, they don't feel like they have a purpose. In part two, we're going to talk about felons and the expungement of crimes,
Yes, ma'am.
nonviolent crimes, in order to get people back on track. I think we may be on a little opposite side, not in the sense that I don't believe in expungement, but in the sense of a free ride to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I think I belabored this with Charles Booker. I think we're going to belabor
I know,
this.
that's okay, that's good, that's good.
Because there are a couple of issues that I'm not as happy with, but overall, I'm happy. And you're not going to be 100% happy with a candidate, but I think
That's so
that's the challenge.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not one to bite my tongue.
I don't expect you to, you haven't yet.
But in the sense of, that's what I said, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about where I stand on expungement and nonviolent crimes, and we're almost together on that. But we are going to have some differences. But I have a lot more differences with Mitch.
Oh,
Right.
Okay.
I have a lot more.
Okay.
The only issue I think I don't have is when people choose not to vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I tell people all the time, I don't care if it's the Republican or Democrat. If you choose to vote
That's the key.
during this period, when we are going into the election of 2020, and I sat here and Sydney did 2 shows on what teens think about the election of 2020, and we're going to air those next week. We're going to begin to air those. you will be heard. You will be listened to. And if there's anything that you need to get done and you feel like if you are registered to vote, I don't care if you seek help from the Republicans or you seek help from the Democrats, you're going to be heard. Because every vote, right, we need to get Bevan out of here. And every vote is so significant. And we have to get our resources together. We have to come to one unity. We have to agree to disagree and yet find commonality in our purpose and our goal. And our purpose is to get rid of Mitch McConnell. Our goal is to get rid of Mitch McConnell and Governor Bevan. And I don't care that you have 15 issues and I disagree with 3 of them. My thing is we're going to bring them to the table. We're going to debate them. We will probably agree to disagree. But I know what the goal is.
And that's the form of democracy, agree to disagree. Now, let me address the question you asked. What do I do, what I say to people when I go out about my day? First of all, I want to address this. There's been a disconnect between generations since we won certain civil rights victories. Unfortunately, when we won several of those victories, a lot of the folks in the older generation, they just rested on their laurels, and they didn't reach back and bring youth along, and the youth felt that, and so you got this gap continuing to grow over year in and year out, and those who made it per se, they said, I got mine, get yours, and the youth, and they wouldn't reach back to the youth to show them how to do and what steps to take or what connections to do in just everyday life, living, how to find scholarships for college, how to be a civil human rights activist, how to engage and mobilize in the community. So once you those communities got ran over by certain elements like and then you got those who have in broken homes, might be a single parent household, household, it might be a grandmother raising a child, mother or father, or both might be locked up. So you got that team that's pretty much raising themselves. And so when you got that and there's no authoritative or disciplinarian in the house, then people gonna go to where they get influenced. That's why the gangs has been claiming a lot of our youth, unfortunately our young males. Get a drug trade culture, it might be marijuana, it might be cocaine, it might be crack, it might be heroin. I don't know what depends on what area you're in. But I feel that we dropped the ball when we didn't bring our youth along when we so-called made it. And so now, and I've been blessed because what kept me grounded, I guess, I had a son when I was 25, born on my birthday, May 3rd, 1985. And from where I was at that point in time, I knew I needed to upgrade my skills so I can at least try to be a better parent and try to provide for them better. So in Lexington, I was in at the time, I enrolled in this Lexington Urban League's word processing training program, and what they did allowed me to learn all the office business equipment, business operations, applications and everything, and that enhanced my skills more. So after 6 months of completing that program, I was able to go into corporate America as either a data entry operator or a teller. I've been a teller, I've been administrative assistant. Anything that had to do with computers, I was ready for that. And what precursor to that was when I was in the 8th grade, I learned how to type. I took a typewriting class. I didn't know what it was for, what I was going to use it for, but it was an elective when I was in the 8th grade. I'm still thankful that I did because it allowed me to find my way around the keyboard.
We are going to let you play your way out of the segment, and then we're going to come back we're going to take a very short break. We're going to come back for part 2. And here is the man in his music, Bennie Jerome Smith.
Man. Well, thank you for allowing me to play this. It's kind of interesting. And I want to dedicate this, let you know, my mother was vision impaired when I was in the 5th grade when I first started playing. Although we were in a low income, she sacrificed her SSI checks to make sure that I had to pay monthly on my horn, make sure I had something to play. So anyway, time you see me doing my music, it's all because of my mom. Dolores Smith, rest in peace.
Thank you.
Are you doing your